So these are some of the questions from previous year papers. Explain duties of an agent. Who is an agent? Explain different modes of domination of agency. Define agency, explain various modes of creation. So for creation also we have, domination also we have. Rights and duties, this was repeated many times. What is meant by agency by ratification, explain relevant rules. So for this, right, this part, I will just write a short note kind of a thing while sharing this document. What is agency? I need to include this. I'll just highlight. Okay. What is agency? Discuss this maxim. Delegatus non potest delegari under agency. That to whom power is already being delegated, that person do not have the authority of further delegating it. Right. So this is basically related to appointment of sub-agent. Then these are short notes. Personal liability of agent, last class we discussed this. Creation of agency, agency by ratification, sub-agent, termination of agency, and undisclosed principal. So this maxim we had mentioned, I guess, while on the first class only, I think, with regard to what the rights and obligations of agent, right? That time, I guess I mentioned this one.
Yes.
So this maxim basically means that when power is already delegated to someone, when someone is already getting powers by way of delegation, that person would ideally not have the option of further delegating it, right? I think there was one duty that when something is assigned to the agent should do it himself because he has got some amount of skill and principal has got some amount of confidence in his skills, so he should not further delegate it. Like that example of content writer would fit in here, that everyone will have their own way of writing. So if someone is impressed by the writing skill of the agent only should be writing for the principal, right? He should not again further delegate it to someone who would have again different mode of writing, right? So that thing applies with regard to this principle, that ideally whenever something is delegated to a person, that person only should do it. So there was one exception also. Do you remember that? Two exceptions were there.
No.
Okay. So ideally, it's that the agent only should be performing it, but there are situations when agent can delegate also. When he can delegate, if nature of the work is only such, or if custom of the trade is only such, that usually that kind of a work is being delegated only. Like if you are going to some, like Big Bazaar or somewhere, you are buying some goods and they have mentioned that, okay, fine, we are providing home delivery. So we do not expect the owner or the manager of the store to be coming to our home and delivering the items, right? We know that they will have some, might be they can hire some third parties also to get it done, right? So we would not mind that. Why? Because that might be the usual custom. They may not be having permanent employees who would take care of the delivery part, but rather they may hire some third parties also. Also with regard to, there would be different these agencies will be there, like corporate gifting agency and all. Have you seen those agencies?
Corporate
Corporate gifting.
gifting.
Yeah. Like in companies, like HR would propose something, right? That, okay, fine, we are giving some Diwali gift, New Year gift, those kinds
Basically,
of
they
stuff.
give the Inox tickets, gift
Yeah,
voucher,
yeah.
Amazon gift voucher.
Gift voucher, you would not need an agent, but take for example, like some company, they decide that, okay, fine, maybe we are sending headphones to all our employees. Now, their own HR might not have that much of time that they would, like purchase headphones, then customize it, give, like pack it, wrap it, everything, and then parcel it. They may not have that much of, like time, but they still want to do it, like customized letter and all they would provide along with the gift. In such cases, what happens is they may hire some agent. So there are many agents like this who would say corporate gifting agency, something like that. They would say, okay, fine, within 500, 1000, 5000, whatever amount you want, we are providing, like these different gifting options, whatever you like, we would do everything. In such cases, what happens is, might be the agency is only getting the thing personalized, but they may hire some, like some courier service, right? They may give it to the TDC or some other third parties. In such a case, the company would not mind that, okay, fine, you did not deliver it to our employees. Why? Because might be they are not having that much of, like logistics support. They might not be having that option, but they are again delegating it to some third party, right? They are appointing a sub agent. Why? Because maybe it is custom of trade. That is how usually things work, right? In such a case, a person may appoint a sub agent, and that would be completely fine. Nature of the work may be something like that, or custom, it's like the usual thing. Unforeseen emergencies. It might be that some emergency has taken place and agent was not having any other option but to delegate his power. That also would be accepted. And last one is authorized by principal. That means agent will directly take permission or approval from the principal and accordingly appoint it, right? It may be proposed by the principal himself or agent himself, that does not matter, but what matters is it is authorized by the principal, right? So ideally, agent should not be like delegating the power that is being given to him, but there are certain exceptions when it can be delegated, and these are the exceptions, right? 4 different exceptions when it can be done. Nature of the work is only such, it's the usual custom, because of some unforeseen emergency, or because principal himself has agreed with regard to it, right? So these 4 things we have with regard to when an agent can delegate his power, basically when he can appoint a sub agent, right? So these are the 4 things that we have. Now, when we see this part, right, that authorized by principal, that means it's a legal thing, right? Principal himself is agreeing that, yes, you can appoint a sub-agent. That means there might be some situations when agent has delegated without having the authority. So what will be the consequences in both the 2 cases? If it is done with principal's authority and if it is done without principal's authority. So if sub-agent is properly appointed, that means with principal's approval or authority, he is being appointed. The principal is represented by sub-agent. Sub-agent can represent the principal because principal only has given that authority, right? He has basically authorized, or he has ratified that thing, right? Appointment of a sub-agent. So principal will be represented by sub-agent. Principal will be liable to third parties with regard to whatever act is performed by sub-agent. Original agent is responsible to the principal. Sub-agent is responsible for his act to original agent, but not to principal except in case of fraud or willful wrong. Basically, principal would be like an owner of a company and agent is like a manager of the company, and he will be appointing a sub-agent, right? So sub-agent is working under this manager. He might not have direct connection with the principal, right? So he will be responsible with regard to this agent only. Agent would be telling him he only would delegate the authority and all that stuff, right? So basically there would be a change of power between agent and sub-agent, and principal would be there sitting like a superior. He would come into picture only when needed. Otherwise, agent will only get everything done from the sub-agent also. Now, why are we making the principal liable with regard to an act of agent? It is based on this maxim, which is from law of torts. Actually, it is called qui fecit per alium fecit per se, which means the act of agent is the act of principal, right? Because principal is getting his own work done through another, right? So we would consider as if principal is doing his own act, and we would accordingly make the principal liable. So there was this case, National Bank of Lahore versus Sahun Lal, manager of a bank tampered with the locks of the lockers in which plaintiff's valuables were kept. The bank was held vicariously liable for the loss which was caused to the customer due to the theft of their valuables from the locker. So if employees of the bank are doing something wrong, in such a case, we can hold the principal also liable, the employer also liable. Why? It is based on this principle, qui fecit per alium fecit per se. Is this part clear with regard to authorized agent and these things?
Yes, madam. Next, please. Exception situation, they can have a sub-agent, so where and it may be a nature of work or custom of trade. Unforeseen emergencies, if it is authorized by the principal.
Yeah.
Okay, so primarily when the sub-agent created, so principal is directly held responsible.
Yeah. If he is
All the acts,
authorized.
yeah. Yes, if it is authorized by the principal.
Yeah. So if he is properly appointed, that means if he is authorized, principal would be primarily responsible, but he might not be directly contacting with the sub-agent. There may be a relation between agent and sub-agent. They would get the things done, but they are doing it on behalf of the principal. So we would make the principal liable, but he may not be directly contacting with the sub-agent, and that's completely fine. Now, if sub-agent is not properly appointed, that means principal has not approved this thing, right? Agent has silently appointed a sub-agent or delegated his powers, but principal is not having any knowledge with regard to it. What happens in such a situation? Principal is not represented by the act of sub-agent, because principal has not even ratified that thing, right? So principal will not be represented by the act of sub-agent. He will not be responsible for the act of sub-agent towards a third party. Original agent is responsible for the act of sub-agent both to principal as well as third parties. So this agent to whom initially power was given, he will be answerable to third parties also, as well as he will be answerable to the principal also. Like, why did he delegate his authority without having power, right? So it will be complete responsibility of the agent who wrongfully appointed a sub-agent. He only will have to deal with both the situations. Principal would not come into picture because he has not ratified it. He was not having any knowledge with regard to this appointment of sub-agent basically. Right, so here we basically have what is delegation and sub-delegation, appointment of sub-agent. What is the normal rule, what are the exceptions, then what will be the effect of appointing a sub-agent properly or not properly, right? When it is not done properly, what will be the effect? So this maxim is basically related to sub-agent. So whether it's sub-agent or with regard to this maxim, there is a question you can write from here only.
Okay.
Then there are these few cases. Yeah, this one we already discussed, right? Why we are making the principal liable? Because of this maxim, qui fecit per alium fecit per se. If you can remember, you can try to remember this also. You will be able to mention it in all the things, right? Like agency also you would be able to mention it. Then with regard to, like, in general, right? In general, if there is this kind of a relation, like partnership also, right? We are we are holding the other partners also liable for the act of one person. So there also you can mention this principle, and this is the meaning of this principle which we have. So we are making a bank liable, we are making LIC liable for wrongful act of the agent. Why? Based on this principle only. That if your agent is doing something, it is as if you only are doing something wrong. Right? So accordingly, principle would be held liable. Now, there was one point where we saw that, like notice should be given, right? Expiry of. Okay, so with regard to this, right, by act of parties, when agent's authority is revoked, right, principal may revoke his authority or agent may also renounce the business. Both of them are having this option of terminating the agency. But we cannot just do it whenever we want. In the agreement, there may be a provision that we need to give 2 months notice, 3 months notice, etc. And we will have to follow that provision. Like in terms of, like resigning from a job, also we would have that option. That is also nothing but kind of agency only, right? We are working for someone else. If we want to resign, maybe we would have to give 1 month, 2 months, 3 months notice. Why is that thing done? Because we want to put an end to this agency relationship and we are giving enough time to the principal also to get the things settled, right? So this piece is kind of related to that. I'm audible, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I thought some network issue, some sound was coming. All right. So, with like similar kind of a situation, this is an agency where an agency has been created for a fixed period. Compensation would have to be paid for its premature termination. If you have already mentioned that this is an agency which is going to continue for 1 year, if you want to terminate it before 1 year, you need to compensate the other person. Why? Because the other person would be mentally prepared, right? That for this duration, I'm working in this agency. If you are not doing so, you need to compensate. Like this applies with regard to bond agreement also, right? Bond agreement would be similar. Somewhat similar when one person would say that I will be working in this company for at least 2 or 3 years. If not, I will have to pay this much of compensation. Right?
Is such bonds, bonds are valid?
Yeah, these kind of bonds are valid. Because see, if there is like a company, okay, there is a company, they are hiring freshers, all right? Like they have just completed, might be their BTech, immediately they are hiring them. Those people are not having much of relevant experience. In such a case, take for example, company is saying that we are providing you a 3 months training, which is like very expensive. Okay, this training is very expensive, where we would be spending 7 lakhs rupees for your training, 6 months training. But because we are hiring you like an employee, we will also have to pay you your salary, right? So apart from investing 7 lakhs rupees, they will also be paying some 50,000 rupees salary to the employee. Okay. After 6 months, if they just take that, training, take all that 50,000 into 6 salary, and then they just decide to leave, it would be a big loss for the company, right? So that is the reason why company would sign an agreement, that they would, be clear that is it worth that 7 lakhs rupees investment or not. So they would ask them to sign an agreement that I am not leaving this company before completing 3 years of term. If I leave, I will have to pay some 7 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever is the amount. Why they will have to pay? Because company is putting so much of money, right? So company would want something in return. What they are wanting in return? 3 months, 3 years of service. right? So these kind of bond agreements are valid as well as very common. Sometimes the companies take it very seriously. They would even, like take, like they would not give relieving letters and all, might be they would take some certificates and all also for security purpose, that they are not just, like escaping. Sometimes they would say that you need to give a blank check of, like this much amount. Obviously no one would, like no one is going to file a case against you for check bounce. Even if it bounces, they are not even verifying if you are having 7 lakhs rupees in your account or not. But still they are taking it just for a security purpose, that if you are scared, at least don't leave. If someone is leaving, that's also fine. So some
Create
companies.
a mind block.
Hmm?
To create a mind block.
Yeah, just for a mind block. But if someone is actually leaving, might be they would not take an action also. You never know. But these agreements are very much, like valid only. So that example you can take here, right? That here also you are saying like for 3 years I'm working here. If you leave before that, you need to pay a certain amount of compensation. Or while joining a job, if you have said that if I'm leaving my job, I would serve 3 months of notice. If you are not doing that, you will have to compromise with your last month's salary, and plus some additional might be you would have to give. So what happens with regard to this, that you are compensating, right? Because you want to terminate it before its validity, right? Before completion of 3 years, you want to put an end to it. So you are paying, like a compensation amount. So what happened here is, an agency was created for a certain fixed period. Compensation would have to be paid for its premature termination if termination is without sufficient cause. If you are not providing a sufficient cause, like maybe destruction of subject matter or something like that, then you will have to provide compensation. Reasonable notice for premature termination was not given. The agent was earning 4,000 rupees per month. The court was of the view that at least 3 months notice should have been given. A compensation of 12,000 was accordingly allowed. So 12,000 as in 4,000 he was earning into 3, right? So 3 months thing they were asked to pay. So this is most common with regard to like employment also, right? If someone is fired, that person also would be given some 2 or 3 months salary, right? Whatever is the notice period, that month's salary the person should be given if someone is just immediately fired, right? So that same example you can apply here as well. So this is premature termination of a contract of agency. This also you can mention with regard to termination. Maybe I'll just it or a fixed period. We have another one, principal owed a sum of money to the agent. So basically there was an agency relationship and principal had to give some amount of money to the agent. So what he did is, he basically gave him an accepted bill of exchange. What is accepted bill of exchange?
Accepted means accepted bill of exchange means I have accepted to pay a certain money on a particular date.
Yeah, so if there is like a principal and agent, some third party had given a bill of exchange to the principal and it was accepted. He had put his signature and everything. And accordingly, principal gave that bill of exchange to the agent saying that this is an accepted bill of exchange and this drawer's name is not yet written. So you can fill up your name there, right? So then you would, like get that amount of money. But principal died before agent could complete this transaction, right? Before he could put his name there, principal died. Usually we say that when principal dies, there is termination of agency relationship. But here what happened is, principal owed some amount of money, right? He anyways had to give that amount of money. So if principal has given this accepted bill of exchange to the agent, and he died immediately after that, the agent would still have the right or authority to put his name, right? Even after death of his, right? So his authority to fill in drawer's name was held not to be terminated. He can put his name and he can demand that money because he anyways had to get that money, right? It was nothing to do with the continuation or termination of agency relationship, basically. So that is the reason why it was said that you can still continue writing your name and claiming the money. It has got nothing to do with termination of the agency otherwise because of death of the agent. Sorry, principal.
Okay.
So we have this one with regard to parties. Yeah, death of parties. There you can mention this one also. Yeah. So just this thing, I will write a short note kind of a thing and provide you. Otherwise, we are done with agency. So anything you want to discuss from here?
Nothing specifically.
Yeah. So basically, rights, duties, termination, and creation, right? Those four are very common things which I have seen. Termination was also repeated quite a few times. Also, rights and duties. That's like the common question, like even question like framing of the question was also not changed. The same question was being repeated quite a few times. So you can go through that part.
Madam, you are picking these questions from Karnataka State Law
Yeah,
University question papers only, no?
3 years question paper.
Okay. See, don't feel bad that I'm keep asking certain questions, because honestly, I am not referring any other book,
Yeah,
any
yeah.
other material.
Question paper only and 3 years only. And anyways, I
Yes,
have like whenever it's needed, right? I have added these kind of links
yes,
also.
yes.
Useful
I will go through that.
okay.
Yeah.
Like whenever I feel that this node is sufficient, I have not added, but still if you feel like referring, might be like something I have mentioned with regard to rights and obligation, you may find that complicated, but what is written here you may find it easier, so you can go to
That
this
is
link
fair
and
enough.
refer. Okay, otherwise
Yeah.
most of the things are there only. I think with regard to emergency provisions, I have added few links because I felt those are important. You can refer to that whenever it's like needed. I have added, otherwise this is enough only. Like all the topics are
Okay.
there, questions are also